Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Paima Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Jai Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So we're reading from the Krishna book, Krishna, by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. And we're reading the Chapter 4, Kamsa begins his persecutions. After Vasudeva adjusted all these things that they had been before, he carried Krishna to Gokula, and all the doors and gates became similarly closed. The gatekeepers woke and heard the newborn child crying. Krishna was waiting to hear the news of the child's birth. Kamsa was waiting to hear the news of the child's birth, and the gatekeepers immediately approached him and informed him that the child was born. At that time, Kamsa got up from his bed very quickly and exclaimed, "Now the cruel death of my life is born." Kamsa became perplexed, now that his death was approaching, and his hair scattered. Immediately he proceeded toward the place where the child was born. Devaki, on seeing her brother approaching, prayed in a very meek attitude to Kamsa, "My dear brother, please do not kill this female child. I promise this child will be the wife of your son. Therefore don't kill her. You are not to be killed by any female child. That was a prophecy. You are to be killed by a male child. So please do not kill her. My dear brother, you have killed so many of my children who were just born, shining like the sun. That is not your fault. You have been advised by demoniac friends to kill my children. But now I beg you to excuse this girl at least. Let me live. Let her live as my daughter." Kamsa, he was so cruel that he did not listen to the pitiful prayers of his sister Devaki. He forcibly grabbed the newborn child to rebuke his sister and attempted to dash her on the stone mercilessly. This is a graphic example of a cruel demon who could sacrifice all relationships for the sake of personal gratification. But immediately the child slipped out of his hands and went up into the sky and appeared with 8 arms as the younger sister of Vishnu. She was decorated with nice garments and flower garlands and ornaments, and in her 8 hands she held a bow, lance, arrows, sword, conch shell, disc, and shield. Seeing the appearance of the child, who was actually the goddess Durga, all the demigods from different planets, like Shitaloka, Charanaloka, Gandharvaloka, Apsaraloka, Kinnaraloka, and Uragaloka, presented her with various articles and began to offer their respective prayers. From above, the goddess addressed Kamsa, "You rascal, how can you kill me? The child who will kill you has already been born before me somewhere in this world. Don't be so cruel to your poor sister." After this appearance, Goddess Durga became known by various names in various parts of the world. After hearing these words, Kamsa became very much overwhelmed with fear. Out of pity, he immediately released Vasudeva and Devaki from the bondage of their shackles and very politely began to address them. He said, "My dear sister and brother-in-law, I've acted just like a demon in killing my own nephews, your children, and thereby I have given up all considerations of our intimate relationship. I do not know what will be the result of these envious acts of mine. Probably I should be sent to the hell where the killers of Brahmanas go." I'm surprised, however, that the celestial prophecy did not come true. False propaganda is not only found in human society, now it appears even the celestial denizens speak lies. Because I believe the words of the celestial denizens, I have committed so many sins by killing the children of my sister. My dear Vasudeva and Devaki, you are both very great souls. I have nothing to instruct you, but still I request that you do not worry for the death of your children. Every one of us is under the control of superior power, and that superior power does not allow us to remain together. We are bound to be separated from our friends and relatives in due course of time. But we must know for certain that even after the disappearance of the different material bodies, the soul remains intact eternally. For example, there are many pots made of earthly clay, and they are all prepared and also broken. But in spite of this, the earth remains as it is perpetually. Similarly, the bodies of the soul may, under different conditions, they are made and destroyed, but the spirit soul remains eternally. So there is nothing to lament over. Everyone should understand that this material body is different from the spirit soul. And so long as one does not come to that understanding, he is sure to accept the process of transmigration from one body to another. My dear sister Devaki, you are so gentle and kind. Please excuse me. Don't be aggrieved by the death of your children, which I have caused. Actually, it was not done by me, because all of these are predestined activities. One has to act according to the predestined plan, even unwillingly. People misunderstand that with the end of the body, the self dies, or they think that one can kill another living entity. All these misconceptions oblige one to accept the conditions of material existence. In other words, as long as one is not firmly convinced of the eternality of the soul, one is subjected to the tribulation of being killed, the killer and killed. My dear sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudev, kindly excuse the atrocities I have committed against you. I am very poor-hearted, and you are so great-hearted. So take compassion upon me and excuse me. While Kamsa was speaking like this to his brother-in-law and sister, tears flowed from his eyes, and he fell down at the feet, believing the words of Durga Devi, whom he had tried to kill. Kamsa immediately released his brother-in-law and sister. He personally unlocked them the iron shackles, and he very sympathetically showed his friendship for his family members. When Devaki saw her brother so repentant, she also became pacified and forgot all the atrocious activities against her children. Vasudeva also, forgetting the past incidents, spoke smilingly with his brother-in-law Devaki. Vasudeva told Kamsa, "My dear friend, fortunate brother-in-law, what you are saying about the material body and the soul is correct. Every living entity is born ignorant, misunderstanding the material body to be the self. This conception of life is due to ignorance. And on the basis of this ignorance, we create enmity or friendship, lamentation, jubilation, fearlessness, envy, greed, illusion, and madness. They're all different features of our material concept of life. A person influenced like this engages in enmity due only to the material body. Being engaged in such activities, we forget our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Vasudeva took the opportunity of Krishna's benevolence and informed him that his atheistic activities were due to his misconception of life, namely taking the material body to be the self. When Vasudeva talked with Kamsa in such an illuminating way, Kamsa became very pleased, and his guilt for killing his nephew subsided. With the permission of his sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudeva, he returned to his home with a relieved mind. But the next day, Kamsa called all his counselors together and narrated to them all the incidents that had taken place the night before. All the counselors of Kamsa were demons and eternal enemies of the demigods, so they became depressed upon hearing these masters speak at the night's events. And although they were not very much experienced or learned, they began to give instruction to Kamsa as follows: "Dear sir, let us now make arrangements to kill all the children who were born in the past 10 days in all the towns, countries, villages, and pasturing grounds. Let us execute this plan indiscriminately. We think that the demigods cannot do anything against us if we perform these atrocities. They're always afraid of fighting with us, and even if they wish to check our activities, they will not dare to do so. Because of your immeasurable strength, they fear your bow. Indeed, we have practical experience that whenever you stood to fight with them, they began to we have experienced that when you stood to fight before them, began to shower your arrows on them, they immediately fled in all directions just to save their lives. Many of the demons were unable to fight with you, and they were immediately surrendered themselves unto you by loosening the turbans and the tufts of their hair in their head. With folded hands they begged you to please spare them, and they said, 'My Lord, we are all afraid of your strength. Please release us from this dangerous fight.' We've also seen many times that you will never kill a surrendered fighter, when they were when they were all fearful, their bows and arrows and chariots were broken, forgetful of their military activities and unable to fight with you. So actually we have nothing to fear from these demigods. They are very proud of being great fighters in peacetime outside the war field, but actually they cannot show any talent or military power on this field. Although Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are always ready to help the demigods headed by Indra, we have no reason to be afraid of them. As far as Lord Vishnu is concerned, he has already hidden himself within the heart of all living entities, and he cannot come out. As far as Lord Shiva is concerned, he has renounced all activities. He has already entered the forest. And Lord Brahma is always engaged in different types of austerities and meditation. And more to speak of Indra, he is a straw in comparison to your strength. Therefore we have nothing to fear from these demigods. But we must not neglect them. For the demigods are our determined enemies. We must be careful to protect ourselves, to root them out from their very existence. We should just engage ourselves in your service, and we will always be ready for your command. The demons continue to say, if there is some disease in the body and it's neglected, it will worsen and become more incurable. Similarly, one who is not careful about restraining the senses and lets them loose, it will not be very difficult to control them. It will be very difficult to control them. Therefore, we must now be very careful of the demigods before they get too strong to be subdued. The foundation of the demigods, the foundation of the strength of the demigods is Lord Vishnu, because the ultimate goal of religious principles is to satisfy him. The Vedic injunctions, the brahmanas, the cows, austerities, sacrifices, performance of charity and distribution of wealth are all for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So let us immediately begin by killing all the brahmanas who are in charge of the Vedic knowledge, along with the great sages who are in charge with sacrificial ritualistic performance. Let us kill all the cows, which are the source of butter, so necessary for performing sacrifice. Please give us your permission to kill all these creatures. Actually, the limbs of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu are the brahmanas, the cows, Vedic knowledge, austerity and truthfulness, senses and mind control, faithfulness, charity, tolerance and performance of sacrifice. Lord Vishnu is situated in everyone's heart and is the leader of all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore we think that to persecute these great sages and brahmanas is to kill Lord Vishnu. Thus, being advised by the demoniac ministers, Kamsa, whom was from the very beginning the greatest rascal, decided to persecute the brahmanas and Vaishnavas, being entrapped by the shackles of all devouring eternal time. He ordered the demons to harass all kinds of saintly persons. And then he entered his house. The adherents of Kamsa were all influenced by the mode of passion, as well as illusioned by the mode of ignorance. And their only business was to create enmity with the saintly persons. Such activities can only reduce one's duration of life. The demons accelerated the process and invited their death as soon as possible. The result of persecuting saintly persons is not only untimely death, the act is so offensive that the perpetrator gradually loses all beauty, fame, his religious principles, and thus his promotion to higher planets is checked. Driven by various kinds of mental concoction, the demons diminish all kinds of auspiciousness. And offense at the lotus feet of the devotees and the brahmanas is a great offense then committed at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A civilization that commits such sinful activities generally loses all faith in the Supreme Lord. As such, the godless civilization becomes the source of all calamities in human society. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 4th chapter of Krishna. Kamsa begins his persecutions. So we can see here how the demoniac people think. They want to kill Vishnu, they want to stop all pious activities, sacrifices, persecute the brahmanas, and kill the cows. So this is cow killers come under this category of demoniac. This is the activity of the demons. They have a demoniac nature. They want to kill the cow. So you see it's very, very prominent today. They have slaughterhouses all over the world. Means they are demons according to the Srimad Bhagavatam here. Huh? Oh, it's here. Okay. This is from Beth Lewis. Is it true that all souls who live now in Kali Yuga will be liberated because of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai and Gaur Nitai have appeared? Yes, they have come to liberate the whole universe with the holy name. Nama bina kichu nahi kawara choda bhovanam. Nothing to be had but the holy name. So if you chant the holy names of Krishna, Ram, Krishna, Hari, that Gaur Nitai have come to give, then certainly you can go back to Godhead. If everybody chants the names of Gauranga and Nityananda, they will certainly, their path to Godhead is open. But you have to take it. They are giving the mercy, but you have to take it. How are they giving their mercy? They're giving their mercy in the form of service. Because we are the eternal servants of Krishna. So Gaur Nitai have appeared here to give us service. Not that Krishna needs anything. He is complete, but by giving us the service, devotional service, it's through that service we can manifest our love for Gaur Nitai. So the service is actually a medium for the living entity. So we've got this service, chanting Hare Krishna, serving the deities here, remembering all these devotional activities we have, and if we put them into practice, then we can actually express our love for Krishna through the service. Otherwise, how can you express your love for someone without service? So to protect the holy name, to protect himself, Krishna has become the holy name, and he has come in this age of Kali Yuga. The holy name and Krishna are non-different. But to protect himself, he's given the service. How we execute that service, that's up to each individual. That's up to you, that's up to me. But we have the service, which is the medium to express our love for Krishna. In this way, Gaur Nitai can liberate the whole universe for all those who want to receive that mercy. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Beth Lewis. What time are we finishing? 15 minutes. Okay. So I go to the next chapter, yeah? Okay. Yeah? Quite a long chapter. This is chapter 5, the meeting of Nanda and Vasudeva. Although Krishna was the real son of Vasudeva and Devaki, because of Kamsa's atrocious activities, Vasudeva could not enjoy the birth ceremony of his sons. But Nanda Maharaj, the foster father, celebrated the birth ceremony of Krishna very joyfully. The next day it was declared that the male child had been born to Jashoda. According to Vedic custom, Nanda Maharaj called the learned astrologers and brahmanas to perform the birth ceremony. After the birth of a child, the astrologers calculate the moment of birth and make a horoscope of the child's future life. Another ceremony takes place after the birth of the child. The family members take their baths, cleanse themselves and decorate themselves with ornaments and nice garments, and then they come before the child and the astrologer, and they hear the future life of the child. Nanda Maharaj and the family members dressed and sat down in front of the birthplace, and all the brahmanas who assembled there on this occasion chanted auspicious mantras. According to the rituals, while the astrologers performed the birth ceremony, all the demons are also worshipped in this occasion. All the demigods are also worshipped on this occasion as well as the forefathers of the family. Nanda Maharaj distributed to the brahmanas 20,000 cows, which were all decorated with cloth and ornaments. He gave the brahmanas not only cows and charity, but hills of grains decorated with ornaments and golden bordered cloth. In the material world, we possess riches and wealth in many ways, but sometimes not all very honest and pious ways, because it is the nature of accumulating wealth. According to the Vedic injunction, therefore, one should purify such wealth by giving cows and gold in charity to the brahmanas. A newborn child is also purified by gifts of grains in charity to the brahmanas. In this material world, it's to be understood that we're always living in a contaminated state, and we therefore have to purify the duration of our lives, our possessions of wealth, and ourself. We can purify our duration of life by taking daily bath, cleansing the body inside and outside, and accepting 10 kinds of purification processes. By austerities, by worship of the Lord, and by the distribution of charity, we can purify possessions of wealth. We can purify ourselves by studying the Vedas in order to understand the absolute truth and achieve self-realization. It is therefore stated in the Vedic literature that by birth everyone is born Shudra, that by accepting the purification process one becomes twice born, and by studying the Vedas one becomes Vipra, which is the preliminary qualification for becoming a Brahmana. And when one is perfectly understood the absolute truth, he is called a Brahmana. And when the Brahmana reaches further perfection, he becomes a Vaishnava, or a devotee. In Krishna's birth ceremony, all the assembled Brahmanas began to chant different kinds of Vedic mantras to invoke the good fortune for the child. There are different kinds of chanters known as the Shutas, the Magadha, Bandi, Virudavali. Along with this chanting of the mantras, the songs, bugles, and kettle drums sounded outside the house. On this occasion, the joyous vibration could be heard in all the pasturing grounds and all the houses. Within and without the houses were varieties of artistic paintings done with rice pulp, and scented water was sprinkled everywhere, even on the roads and streets. Ceilings and the roofs were decorated with different kinds of flags, festoons, and green leaves. The gates were made of green leaves and flowers, and the cows, bulls, and calves were smeared with a mixture of oil and turmeric and painted with minerals like red oxide, yellow clay, and manganese. They wore garlands of peacock feathers. They were covered with nice colored cloths and gold necklaces. When all the ecstatic cowherd men heard that Nanda Maharaj, the father of Krishna, was celebrating the birth ceremonies of his son, they became spontaneously joyful. They dressed themselves with very costly garments and ornaments. Their bodies wore different kinds of earrings and necklaces, and they wore great turbans on their heads. After dressing themselves in this gorgeous way, they took all kinds of presentations and thus approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. As soon as they heard that Mother Jasoda had given birth to a child, all the cowherd men became overwhelmed with joy. And they also dressed themselves with various kinds of costly garments, ornaments, and smeared scented cosmetics on their bodies. As the dust of a lotus flower exhibits the exquisite beauty of the flower, all the gopis, the cowherd women, applied the dust of kumkum on their lotus-like faces. These beautiful gopis took their different presentations and very soon reached the house of Nanda Maharaj. Overburdened with their heavy hips and swollen breasts, the gopis could not proceed very quickly towards the house of Nanda Maharaj. But out of ecstatic love for Krishna, they proceeded as quickly as possible. Their ears were decorated with pearl earrings, their necklaces were decorated with jeweled lockets, their lips and eyes were decorated with different kinds of lipsticks and ointments, and their hands were decorated with nice golden bangles. And as they were very hastily passing over the stones road, the flower garlands which were decorating their bodies fell to the ground, and it appeared a shower of flowers was falling from the sky. From the movements of the different kinds of ornaments on their bodies, they were looking still more beautiful. In this way they reached the house of Nanda Maharaj and blessed the child. "Dear child, you lived long just to protect us." While they were blessing child Krishna in this way, they offered a mixture of turmeric powder, oil, yogurt, milk, and water. They sprinkled the mixture not only on the body of the child Krishna, but on all the other persons who were present there. Also, on that auspicious occasion, there were different kinds of expert musicians playing. Oh, we have a question here. Janaki Devi from Bhaktivedanta Academy. Gargamuni mentions that Krishna's past life, he had appeared with different colors such as white, red, and yellow. Which form of the Lord had these colors? Sometimes it said that red was Varahadev, and someone else was a red incarnation, I can't remember, but one is said to be Varahadev. Yellow is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. White is Hamsagurya? Huh? Kapila Dev. Oh, Kapila Dev was a white incarnation. So white, red, yellow. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Janaki. That's it. Krishna book. When the cowherd men saw the pastimes of the cowherd women, they were very joyful, and in response they also began to throw yogurt, milk, clarified butter and water upon the bodies of the gopis. Then both parties began to throw butter on each other's bodies. Nanda Maharaj was also very happy to see the pastimes of the cowherd men and women, and he became very liberal in giving charity to all the different singers who were assembled there. Some singers were reciting great verses from the Upanishads, from the Puranas, and some were glorifying the family ancestors, and some were singing very sweet songs. There were also so many learned brahmanas present, and Nanda Maharaj, being very satisfied on this occasion, gave them different kinds of garments, ornaments, and cows in charity. It is very important to note in this connection how wealthy the inhabitants of Vrindavan were simply by raising cows. All the cowherd men belonged to the Vaishya community, and thus their business was protecting the cows and cultivating crops. By their dress and ornaments, and by their behavior, it appears that although they were a small village, they were very rich in material possessions. They possessed such an abundance of various things, of milk, various kinds of milk products, that they were throwing butter lavishly on each other's body without restriction. Their wealth was in milk, yogurt, clarified butter, and many other milk products. And by trading their agriculture produce, they were rich in various kinds of jewelry, ornaments, and costly garments. Not only did they possess all these things, but they could also give them away lavishly in charity, as Nanda Maharaj did. Thus Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, began to satisfy the desire of all the men assembled there. He respectfully received them and gave them charity of whatever they desired. The learned brahmanas had no other occupation or source of income, were completely dependent on the Vaishya community for their maintenance, and they received gifts on such festive occasions as birthdays and marriages. While Nanda Maharaj was worshipping Lord Krishna on this occasion and was trying to satisfy all the people there, his only desire was that the newborn child Krishna would be happy. Nanda Maharaj had no knowledge of his child was the origin of Vishnu, but he was praying to Lord Vishnu to protect him. Nanda Maharaj's only desire was his newborn child would be happy. This is pure devotion. Rohini, the mother of Balaram, was the most fortunate wife of Vasudev. She was always away from her husband. Yet just to congratulate Nanda Maharaj on the occasion of the birth ceremony of his son, Lord Krishna, she dressed herself very nicely, wearing garlands and necklaces and other bodily ornaments. She appeared on the scene and moved hither and thither. According to the Vedic system, a woman whose husband is not at home does not dress herself very nicely. But although Rohini's husband was away, still she dressed herself very nicely on this occasion. From the opulence of the birth ceremony of Krishna, it is very dear that at that time, Vrindavan was very rich. Vrindavan was very rich in every respect, because Lord Krishna took his birth in the house of King Nanda, and Mother Jasoda, the goddess of fortune, was obliged to manifest her opulence in Vrindavan. It appeared that Vrindavan was already become the site for the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki jai.
Did you actually finish the chapter?
Huh?
Did you come to the end of the chapter?
No, there's another 2 pages. I put them bookmark here. You have to go.
You had 50 loyal viewers there. Ask them to come back tomorrow night for Krishna Book. Would you invite them back tomorrow for Krishna Book on Facebook and Mayapur TV?
Okay, thank you for coming. For the Krishna hearing Krishna Book, please come back tomorrow, same time. We will continue the Krishna Book. Hare Krishna.